Hello, my name is Maria Bezubova and you're at my channel Fertilizers Jazz. Here we talk about events, trends, technologies in the world of fertilizers and agriculture. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and let's jazz! As you know, every quarter I invite brilliant market analysts to share with you their insights and forecasts for a quarter ahead for different fertilizers market segments. Today, I would like to start this mini-series of quarterly reviews with the hottest market segment of today. Clearly, it is urea. And to do that, I am happy to host again a great guest, Deepika Thapliyal, Deputy Managing Editor of Fertilizers at ICIS. I am very glad to welcome you, Deepika, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Maria. Just perfect timing again. We meet again before an Indian tender and just before the Christmas holidays. Exactly. I don't think the market has ever been this active before the holidays.
Exactly. So we're talking right before the end of 2024, and I think it was a very eventful year for urea. So my first question to you will be, what is your personal, let's say, hit parade? What are those events or news that, to your understanding, formed the landscape of 2024 urea market and that will be influencing 2025, or at least Q1 that we will focus today?
I think when we look at the outlook for Q1 and for 2025, I think, Maria, the focus is, of course, going to be on affordability, what farmers can afford, how gas costs do, and how grain prices go. All of these are not, I would say, favorable in the sense for the market in general. Things are very expensive. Living costs are very expensive. Farming costs are so expensive. So those costs are higher. Grains are not really doing that well, even though there's been some pickup from what we've seen before. Grains are always still an issue, and the affordability ratio, say, for farmers when it comes to grains versus fertilizers is not really ideal. In terms of gas, over the last week or so, we've seen that gas prices have come down a little bit, but they're still high and not at the comfort level for many European producers. And because of that, we've seen a few sort of production cuts. It's not so much for urea. There are a few urea plants that are down in Europe, but it's more so for nitrates and for ammonia. But in general, you get the sense that European producers are going to be cautious. But despite all of this, Q1 at least is going to start on a very firm footing. And it's purely because despite all the negatives, despite all the reasons that buyers should be cautious, they have been cautious the whole time. And that's been an issue. They have delayed their purchases quite a bit. So we've come to the time just before the season. They can't be delaying anymore. And second half of January onwards, or maybe towards the end of January 2025, we will see a lot of buying coming in place. For Europe, the US, Australia probably could come in, although it's a bit early to say, Latin America as well. And Indian tender, of course, we're already seeing one and is going to close right around the Christmas holidays.
Yes, indeed. This Indian tender came again, as usually, abruptly. So what do you think? Of course, India was the most important player in the market in Q4, with 3 tenders announced during Q4 only. And 3 months ago, when we met last, we discussed with you that in terms of supply, you expected Q4 will be tight because of India, mostly. And that turned out exactly as you forecasted. So beginning of October, mid-November, and now the fresh one, mid-December. How do you think, will India book all this 1.5 million tons? What is your expectation that they announced for this December tender? And if yes, then what will be the effect of this significant purchase?
So I don't think there is 1.5 million tons that is going to be available for India. It looks like global availability is actually quite tight. And I would say in general, also the seasons are starting, right? That we mentioned for so many markets. So at a time like this, it's not like producers will have a lot to actually sell to India. They would want to keep some contract cargoes for US, for North America, because it's season time as well, for Latin America, I'm sorry. So because of all these factors and the fact that in general, the outlook is firmer on pricing. Everyone is expecting that Q1 2025 prices will be higher than what we've seen in Q4 2024 in general. So because of all these factors, we see once again that, of course, there will be a substantial amount of tonnage that will come to India from the Arab Gulf. So that could be between 400 to 500,000 tons. Russia probably around 200,000 tons, maybe 250,000 tons at best. So not a lot of prilled urea coming from Russia. So, and then there would be a few more cargoes, say probably, there's always some producer trying to get comfortable on inventory. So they sell to India. It could be from Southeast Asia. It could be maybe like a prilled cargo or so coming from Egypt, although the Egyptians are busy with Europe now. You could also see like some cargoes, say, coming in from some other parts of Africa. Nigeria, they've done 150,000 tons to India in the past tender. Probably this time they're not under so much pressure and they won't really sell, but there are always two, three more cargoes that come in from here and there. So all this tells you that India will not really have more than 700 or 800,000 tons. And I don't really think India needs 1.5 million tons. I think it was just like like a tactical announcement that they did, that they want 1.5 million tons for shipment by 10th of February. Probably they're trying to get the best prices, as any buyer would like. On the pricing side for India, though, obviously they will have to pay higher than the last tender. In the previous tender, they paid about $362 per ton CFR. So in this tender, the lowest expectation that we have is that the prices will be $5 to $10 higher than the previous tender, because in general, globally, the market has gone up and there's not a lot available. It could be even more if somebody's a lot more optimistic. But yes, prices are going to be higher for India and they're not really going to get all the tons that they want.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, we discussed that maybe this tender might be not the last one until the end of fiscal year in India. So maybe we should expect one more until March, which is in Q1. What is your expectation?
I think very possible that they could have if they don't book enough tons in this tender, and if it's only like 500 or 600,000 tons or something that they're able to book, they would come before the financial year ends in March. But I don't think India is under any pressure as such to really buy. They're pretty comfortable. Local inventory, if you see, is about 7.3 million tons. So that's good enough. And I think this tender was announced because, of course, there are a little bit shortages here and there in one port or the other. So they would want to have the tons in place. But at the same time, they had budget remaining. So they had that flexibility, and that's why they've tendered. So I don't think India is desperately in need to tender. Also, the prices were very good. Even though we're talking about, prices are going to be higher than the previous tender, it would still be a good price, because once this tender closes, most likely global values will go up even higher. So it's a good time for them to step in. So I don't think India is in any way desperate, but at the same time, they always appreciate the amount of tons they get because they put that all in as their buffer stock. So yeah, we could see another tender, but I don't think there's going to be any rush.
I see. Thank you. Talking about supply, I would like you to share your view regarding Iranian supply in Q1. As we see now, Iranian producers are down, most of them, due to gas supply cuts, which is kind of a usual thing for them during cold periods. But also we see from the weather forecasts that in maybe 10 to 14 days, there will be better weather, warmer weather is expected in the region. So what do you think regarding, in these circumstances, regarding their production? Do you expect a lot of Iranian urea in the market in Q1?
Actually, like you said, every December, every first quarter, we always have these production cuts in Iran. But to me, this time it looks a lot more serious than in the previous years. And if you look at the lineup or all the factories, all 7 factories are down. Only Pardis is the one operating, and that's also operating at lower rates, about 65% or something like that. So I think they are going to be tighter than usual. And the government this time seems to be very strict, and that is why I think the energy crisis is a lot more serious than what we've seen in the last few years. So to me, it looks like there's not going to be a lot of Iranian urea available. Usually every month, probably we see about 250,000 tons, maybe a little more than that from Iran. I think in January, we could see 1 or 2 cargoes at most. At least as of now, that's what it's looking like. I don't know if somebody comes up with some tons in stock, but unlikely, because everyone is down except for one producer in the country. So it is, to me, looking a lot serious than it has done in the last few years.
Yeah, so perhaps it is the factor that will tighten the market even more, and indeed the prices will be increasing even more than we expect. You already touched on that many regions will come back to the market with their demand and with their purchasing in Q1. Europe, first of all, of course, Europe is approaching its main application season, purchasing and application season. They were sitting on the fence mostly in Q4, but right now they need to step in. When do you think it will happen? How quickly they really step into the market? And what is your expectation about European demand in general, taking into account, all the problems with affordability that you mentioned before?
No, Maria, last year I stopped predicting or even trying to give an idea when Europe is going to step in. Everyone, people say Europe is going to step in October. No, Europe is going to step in November. And they never came. And then this year, people are like, oh, well, December, everyone's going to go on holiday because it's the holiday season. So no one will step in. And we've actually seen some buying happen in December. So they do not behave in the way that anybody forecasts. But I would think that they will have to step in January, probably towards the once people are back from holidays, middle January, second half of January, they will all have to step in because they have delayed purchasing a lot. And a lot of, we were talking about this earlier, and a lot of the market is still uncovered. So in the north, there are estimates as much as 50% of the market is still not covered of the requirements. And for the south, people believe only 30% is covered and the rest still needs to be covered. So this is for all of 2025, but like a big chunk of it is covered in Q1. So I think it could be quite an interesting time for Europe, although I'm very skeptical to say anything, but they should most definitely be stepping in now. At the same time, there's always domestic production that they're keeping an eye on. And right now, it's not looking like all producers are operating at full rates. A few producers have already announced that they have reduced their rates or they've shut down production till January. So those factors will play, and that's why the focus will be more on imports. And I think because of that, we will see quite a lot of even Russian tons going into Europe and product going from anywhere else as well. So yeah, there will be quite. I think the buying should start soon after the holidays.
The other thought that I heard from the market from Europeans, regarding their demand, is the following: that the cost of domestically produced nitrates is increasing clearly because of the gas price and ammonia price, which are at very high level at the moment. So part of that demand that usually is covered by nitrates might even swing towards more covered by urea, which will be a bit lower per nitrogen content. Do you agree with that? Have you heard this type of discussions already?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because buyers are very quick to swap and they will want to buy the cheapest product that's available. So that actually does make a lot of sense, and we could see that happening. We've seen that happening in the reverse. Like there've been more people buying nitrates because that was priced better compared to, and now when it's changing, and if urea is priced better, of course buyers will step in and look for urea.
Yeah, perhaps let's see how it develops. The other region, important buyer which is usually important in Q1, is the US that you already mentioned, and they are really lagging behind in terms of pace of their imports this year. So perhaps they should be also one of those who need to step in finally. What do you think, and what is your expectation from their demand? When and how large it should be?
So I think on the US, again, quite surprising with how tight they have been this whole year. And despite all of that, despite all the tightness and everything that we've seen in the US, their prices have behaved like as of now, like they've been mostly trading in a range or even on the softer side. So I think they should definitely step in towards the end of January, and in February, that buying should take place. And that is going to be one. I think the main factor why prices are going to stay firm, because US could attract a big chunk of product. And we have seen last year as well, again, another surprise, US prices for most of 2020. I'm already talking about last year as if we are in 2025. I meant for most of 2024, we saw the US trading at a discount to Brazil. And that doesn't ever happen. It's always actually Brazil, which is at a discount to the US. Only in the last month or so, we've seen now prices in Brazil and the US are almost trading at par. So in the past, we've seen probably Brazil attract a bit of those cargoes that would have gone to the US because they were paying better netbacks. But now that the prices are almost in line, and the season is starting, I think US will be another key buy. And year after year, we see that they do on urea side, the imports have been pretty healthy. And I think and nobody will want to have any kind of tightness or be short of product, which this year we've heard this whole story all around that product is so tight, there's not enough available, but then prices haven't really run off in any direction. So again, the US, another tricky one, but I think, yeah, they should be back end of January.
Indeed. Thank you. Talking about Brazil that you already touched, the main season is already gone. I mean, the key application season. So what will happen now in Q1? Will they start buying for stocking, or what do you expect from there?
So if you look at the Brazil lineup as well, things are slowing down over there. And there's not a lot of demand. Buyers are being very cautious about the prices are higher, as is everywhere. So there are few sellers as well in the market. Maybe that is why prices are higher. But on the liquidity side, things are pretty thin. So I think for Brazil, in general, we do expect Latin America to buy, but I don't know if they will be like, they will take a big chunk or come in. And I think they will just be one of those buyers who will be buying on the sidelines, as they usually do, because Brazilians are no longer under any pressure. They have so many contract cargoes going there. Every year we see Brazil imports more and more urea than the previous year. Every year is a record when it comes to imports. So I don't think they have any pressure on the buying side. So I think they should be continuing their purchases. Hopefully farmers will step up their purchases of urea, but I think there's been so much ammonium sulfate as well that's gone to Brazil. That's eaten up a lot of the urea share over there. So I don't think Brazil as such, that market is going to not really boost, any kind of sentiment or anything. They will just continue buying the way that they have been.
Yeah, because I saw information that they set another record in 11 months, importing 7.6 or close to that, which is really huge amount, and something is still floating. So yeah, perhaps we shouldn't expect anything significant in terms of demand or purchasing from there. And if we move to the other big elephant in the room, which is South Asia, we discussed last time that you don't expect China to come back to the market with exports anytime soon. It didn't happen, of course, in Q4, and clearly it will not happen in Q1. For how long do you think in 2025 China will stay away? Can there be any projection at all for that?
That another tricky one, but I think in general, estimations. With China, nobody actually knows what's going to happen. But in general, people think from May 2025, probably there could be some interest towards exports. But the way the government has been, they've been so strict about any kind of export. They're so keen on keeping the price of urea low for their own farmers that I think anything is going to be very, very sketchy and very scarce. It's not going to be any big allowing of exports or anything. I feel at best we could see like a quota system that, they may allow a few state-run companies to start exporting a few cargoes every month based on quotas. But I don't think it's going, I would almost say we can discount China from the trade flows, because very unlikely. The government keeps such a close eye on the way the futures prices move in the local market. Every time there's a rumor of exports being allowed, if the futures prices go up, they just completely clamp down, completely again on exports. And not that they've been allowing any exports either, but that just goes to show that their whole focus is on keeping exports as thin as possible to keep their local prices very low. So I don't think China is going to be an active supplier at any point, really.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much. And if we talk about, the supply is tight, clearly. However, the capacities are, for urea at least, are always coming into the market. Do you see any new capacities to come on stream in Q1 specifically, and in generally, which new capacities we should expect in 2025?
So I think Q1, no, we don't expect any new capacities. The two new plants that we need to look out for is, the Eurochem plant, which is like 1.3 million tons. I think that will come only in or become operational only in the expectation is end of 2025, and they will have product for export probably in 2026. So that one is also out. But that is one. And then there is a plant in India, the Talcher plant, but that's seen so many issues. Their capacity is also the same, 1.3 million tons. So that has seen so many delays and stuff. I don't think that's also going to come on stream as expected. So probably only end of 2025, we will hear something from that plant as well. So I think for most of 2025, don't see any major plant coming on stream, or at least that something that will affect trade flows, except these two. But these are also, I think the impact will only be seen in 2026.
I see. Thank you very much, Deepika. I want to thank you for your insights now and also for all your support of Fertilizer Jazz during 2024. And I want to wish you and your family a lot of health and success and prosperity, and also to ICIS, of course, a lot of good clients, a lot of interesting projects. And let's stay together at Fertilizers Jazz for the next year. I will be happy to host you here regularly as we did before.
Thank you so much, and wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. As usually, I will leave all credentials of Deepika and ICIS in the comments. Please let me know in the comments which other questions, hot questions, related to urea market in Q1 you would like me to uncover, and I will be glad to do so with Deepika later or even earlier than you think during Q1. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and see you soon.